All right.
Howdy, friends. It's Steve Sanborn here in Kansas City, Missouri. Not Kansas City, Kansas. Remember that. We don't want to be over there. We want to be in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm welcoming Dr. Phil Carson, who is joining me today from Tupelo, Mississippi. Dr. Carson is a PharmD. He is a doctor of pharmacy, and he and I have worked together for a number of years now, predominantly around the Wavi platform, a little bit of Neuro 20, some other things. We do a lot of collaborating back and forth. Get along quite well. I'd say we're pretty good friends at this point, and it's my pleasure to invite you on. And basically, like I said, to introduce you to the folks that I'm in touch with my small YouTube channel, but also clients, friends, family who I haven't had a chance to introduce you to yet.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've referred quite a number of people to you over the last few years, friends, family members, etc., all of whom have done quite well after working with you. So I wanted to basically focus a little bit on your background and then maybe address sort of some significant changes that have taken place in your life as a pharmacist, as a doctor of pharmacy. I know that you went through a pretty big shift. So I just thought perhaps we could start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That did go through a pretty big shift. And actually, I guess, a lot of people are surprised when they find out I'm a pharmacist and I do what I do. But as I tell people all the time, Steve, it was my own health issues that led me down the path that I'm on today as a functional pharmacist. And actually a pharmacist who got out from behind the counter, back in 2016. So been out behind the counter for a while. When I sold out of the last retail pharmacy operation I was a part of, I went into the clinical side of things, started doing clinical work. I actually opened up a clinic with a doctor friend of mine that had the same philosophy, the same beliefs I did in natural therapies and natural medicine, holistic therapies that actually I credit as saving my life years ago when I was struggling with many health problems in my younger days and first part of my career as a pharmacist, when stress was literally killing me, and and all the gastric issues that I had, partly because of stress, but partly because of a genetic trait that I found out that I had. At that time, I was taking a handful of medications to get temporary relief from the symptoms I was struggling with. When I picked up a book in a bookstore one day and discovered that there were natural solutions to what I was just struggling with. And so I started applying those to my life and to my daily routine and taking certain supplements. And it literally saved my life, I believe. I don't know if I'd still be here right now if I hadn't learned those things I learned years ago. And, and what I learned, I decided, hey, there are other people I know that are struggling with these same things. I've got patients that are struggling with these same things, and they're on a handful of medications just like I am. So I started telling people about it, and I started to see other people's lives changing, and other people, coming back into my pharmacy and said, hey, thank you so much for telling me about this stuff. I can't believe how much better I feel. That was rewarding. And so I started taking courses and learning everything I could about natural medicine, natural therapies, and I'm still learning as of today. And I don't know that I'll ever stop learning, because there's always something new popping up out there, something new being discovered, new research being done, and new discoveries being made, seems like on a daily basis.
Right.
But I love it.
Yeah. Oh, I know you do. And like I say, I've been thoroughly impressed with the kind of results that I've gotten for, like I say, even close family members, etc. Now you have taken this up and over a notch quite far over the years, and now you have Phil Carson Wellness.
Right.
That is the name of your company and your overall platform for treating people across the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're getting a network of patients and probably some practitioners in there as well. Can you kind of give us an idea of the types of patients? I mean, you're probably seeing a lot of things, but what are some of the things that people are coming to you for? And it's because it's, it is still a bit of an outlier in a sense. Most people think about going to a practitioner down the street, sitting right in front of them. But over the last few years, the telemedicine scenario has really blown out and grown. And now to me, it's almost commonplace to know that people are out there talking to doctors online and learning what they can do. So what kind of things are you seeing?
Yeah. Well, I see a lot actually, but I would say probably the number one issue that I deal with people are people who are actually suffering on a day-to-day basis, struggling with their health on a handful of medications like I was as a result of stress in their lives.
Okay.
Major stress. Sometimes there's been some type of trauma that goes along with that stress that's amplified that stress, so to speak, and amplified the effects of that stress on the body. And I tell people this all the time. And, we live in a very stressful world. I mean, there's stress all around us. We have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Some people handle it and deal with it better than others do, and some people have a lot more stress, or their stress is much more intense than others, have. And so, but that's what I see. And because of that stress, their hormones are out of balance, and that's a major thing. People, their hormones are all over the place. They have deficiencies, or they have excesses in certain hormones. And I'm not talking about just sex hormones. That's usually a major factor with most people because of how the stress affects the production of sex hormones in our body. But I'm talking about all the other hormones as well, the adrenal hormones in particular, and the thyroid hormones. Those are things. I see a lot of people with thyroid issues, and many of them have thyroid issues, and they don't even know that's what's going on. Nobody's ever really tested them to see.
Right.
They have adrenal dysfunction, and nobody's testing the adrenals to see that the adrenals are not functioning well,
Right.
which is affecting almost every other aspect of their health. A lot of times is that adrenal dysfunction.
Right. So since you're at a distance, what are the methods that you're using to figure out what's going on with a patient? You're in Tupelo and so is in Seattle. How does that process work?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I talk to people and I listen to people, and I look for clues in what they say and what they share with me and what they tell me. And that's one of the downfalls of our healthcare system right now is these patients and all the ones that I've worked with, they're not being listened to. Yeah, they're being run through a medical office. They may see the doctor for 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most, and they're not being listened to. They're going there because they're sick. They're going there because something's wrong with them. And they're getting looked at and they're getting written a prescription, but they're not being listened to. My philosophy is let's try to find the root cause of your problem. And that's what that's my passion. That's what I love. I tell people all the time, I love putting on my Sherlock Holmes hat and looking for clues.
Yeah.
And digging deep and trying to find it. Okay, you've got all these symptoms, and you're taking all these medications, and nobody's ever told you what you really have or what's really going on. Let's see if we can find out what it is. Let's dig deep and let's find the root cause of this problem. And that's what we do. And the patient helps me do that because they're telling me things and I'm listening to them and they're giving me clues one right after another. And so I start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and a lot of times we come up with an answer. And then when we have an answer, we can find a solution for it. And so we start looking at the solutions that are out there, and they're there. You just
Yeah.
got to know what you're dealing with, and when you know what you're dealing with, you can apply a solution to it.
It's an astounding discovery to people, really, and
Yeah,
you wouldn't think that it would be like this.
yeah,
But, kind of going back to something I've learned just because of the day-to-day work that I do in the conventional side of the house, it seems to me that the average time that the patient gets to spend with a practitioner is roughly 7 minutes. Now, I'm sure
yeah.
that's not always the case. I'm sure there are more
Oh yeah,
out there that are spending more time, but on average, you got about 7 minutes to lay out your problem, to do a good job of explaining it, to
hmm
remember everything that's going on, which of course I could never do in 7 minutes. I mean, I could talk
yeah,
for 70 minutes and still not get to the point. So,
yeah.
so you're giving a lot more time, it seems to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I typically spend an hour initially with a patient. And work with an hour to an hour and a half just interviewing them and asking questions and trying to find out what all's going on with them, what their history has been. That's something I do. I look at the history. I look at labs. Um, that people have all this lab work done and they're being told everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I see this every single week. There's not a week it doesn't go by that I don't have somebody send me their labs and they tell me, well, my doctor said everything was fine. And I'm looking at their labs and I'm shaking my head saying, this is unbelievable. Yeah, that you were told that everything was fine.
Yeah.
Um,
What would
yeah.
be an example? I mean, what's kind of is it a vitamin deficiency? I mean, what are you seeing that, what's a good example of that?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're uh, if you know how to analyze blood work and look for clues in blood work, then a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times that's what you see is there's a deficiency here. Somebody's struggling with a deficiency. It's unbelievable how many people that I've counseled with over the years brought me their blood work and they were told everything was fine. And when I'm looking at the blood work, they're clearly anemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's in black and white. It's plain as day. You've got a deficiency in this. You got or it's too high in this marker. You're anemic, but they've been
Right.
told they were fine. Yeah,
But why?
and they're.
Why is that happening?
I think one of the things is just too busy. These doctors, these clinics, they're overwhelmed. They're too busy. They don't. What they look at a blood work, and if they don't see a flag that says this is high or this is low, or
Yeah.
if they don't see a certain number of flags, then they tell you everything's okay.
Yeah.
And I had this a case with with an elderly lady here just recently. She had numerous flags, but she also had all these markers that were borderline. They were either right at the edge, being too low or too high.
Yeah.
She also had thyroid markers that were out of line, showing that she had potentially had thyroid issues. She's struggling with major fatigue and all these issues, and she was told, "Well, we don't see anything. Everything looks good."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it wasn't. And I think a lot of times too. I think it's not just a time factor. I think it's maybe there are nurses or lab technicians or whoever's looking at these reports. They haven't been properly trained how to read these reports, and they don't have a clue as to what the optimal levels should be
Right.
on on these blood markers. They're looking at that broad reference range that's printed out on the lab report by the lab, saying, "Here's your reference range." And if they fall anywhere into that reference range, then they consider that fine. Or
Yeah.
if they're slightly outside the reference range, even they consider that fine. But it may be fine for one person, but it's not fine for another.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time. People have been told that everything's normal, everything's perfect, but they've got a whole long list of symptoms. They go right along with what that report is showing, but they're being ignored because people in the healthcare industry are putting too much faith and too much confidence in the reference ranges. And
Right.
what I do is I look at blood values from a functional standpoint. There are optimal ranges where we should be on a lot of these markers. And when you're outside that optimal range, typically you're going to have some type of problem.
Right. Right. So as part of that methodology, then you are looking at patients' existing labs, lab reports, et cetera. But if they haven't done that yet, if they haven't gotten to that point, I assume you're working
Yeah.
with them in some way to get those labs.
Yeah, actually, I refer them back to their doctor, and give them a list of labs they need to get done.
Okay, so you do
Uh,
that through a local practitioner?
yeah, whoever their provider is, I'd say, hey, look, you need to go to your doctor, and you need to get these labs done.
Okay, I see.
Or
And so,
if they can't do that, their doctor won't do it or whatever. There's a lab company I work with that will provide access to those labs for them.
they'll just send something to the house?
Yeah, a lot of times if it's a collection kit where they can do something from their home, yeah, finger stick, urine, saliva, those kind of things. I use those. I've got several labs I work with that provide what's called functional labs. They're not typical blood labs.
Yeah.
That look at a lot of other things like adrenal function or like hormone balances and those kind of things that are done outside of blood a lot of times. And they are labs that only use urine, only use saliva. And then you've got your typical blood labs that are done, when you go to the doctor, they draw the blood and they do these specific labs that blood is required for. But the lab that I work with will provide those types of tests as well, where they can go to a local lab facility and get those blood labs done.
Right. Okay. I've heard you talk several times in the past about the prevalence of thyroid and adrenal problems that go either undiagnosed or they're missed by other types of practitioners. And this is something that you've kind of caught on to over the years. And I was wondering, for those out there who may be struggling with that, and I've known a few, I've even sent a few to you where you discover that was their problem. They had an adrenal fatigue or they were really burnt out and they needed some supplementation to build that back up. And it sure seems like they're doing a lot better than they were. But what are some of the common symptoms that an individual might run into if they're seeing standard practitioners and it's not being addressed and they're not familiar? What might they be looking for in the area of thyroid and adrenal problems?
Yeah. Well, I would say with most adrenal patients, the number one thing is going to be fatigue. Their number one complaint is I'm tired all the time. I don't have any energy. I don't have any get up and go. I don't feel good. And the second complaint, and sometimes it's number one, is sleep, lack of sleep. They're not able to sleep. They either struggle to get to sleep or they struggle to stay asleep. And they wake up feeling like they haven't slept at all. And so they have to drag themselves out of the bed in the morning, drag around for a while until they get some caffeine or some kind of stimulant in their body where they can function for a few hours. And then
I'm sure that's really helping the situation.
Oh yeah. And they typically, by the afternoon they're dragging again.
Yeah.
And so, but those are some. Those two things are the chief complaints I get: that lack of energy, lack of sleep, and then another common thing is headaches, or other types of pain, body aches. Go along with that as well. But there are a whole lot of hidden type symptoms, things that people don't even know that they're dealing with, like osteoporosis. And that's a common thing when there's adrenal dysfunction. A common issue that people can have is osteoporosis, bone loss. Another one that is visible for most people, and I hear this complaint a lot, especially from women, is that belly fat. I've done everything. I've eaten right. I'm doing this. I've tried to lose this weight. It just won't go away. I can't get rid of this fat.
Yeah.
And this I got all this around my midsection. It just won't go away. And that's adrenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard a pretty good little joke on a meme about that recently, or some guy was saying that his hair cells have fallen out and died, his skin cells are dying, these cells are dying, but those visceral fat cells must have been saved by our Lord Jesus because they have eternal life. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I like that. I have to use that one. That's good.
Yeah. Well, as I drop back a little bit to kind of the original part of the conversation about your background as a pharmacist, as a doctor of pharmacy, you obviously have an in-depth knowledge of the pharmaceutical world too.
Yeah.
So that has to come in handy at times when people may be experiencing medication side effects. Do you see that a lot?
Oh man, do I ever? Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the most disturbing things to me, Steve, is what I see with medication out there. And this is something I dealt with when I had my pharmacies years ago, is trying to help people in this regard and helping them understand the side effects of medication, because they weren't being, told. The doctors didn't tell them. If they were going to a big box pharmacy somewhere before they started coming to me, they had not been told. They'd not been educated. Say, hey, and I would see, and I still see this to this day. I do medication reviews and supplement reviews for people all the time. It's one of the services that I provide. People send me a list of all their drugs, or they'll bring them to me. So it just blows my mind. Sometimes people come in with a box full. I'm talking like a big cardboard box full of drugs and supplements that they're taking,
Holy
not
mackerel.
even knowing not even knowing what the side effects are, not even knowing if there's drug interactions and supplement interactions and supplement drug interactions, all this kind of stuff. They're just taking all this stuff because somebody told them it was a good idea, or they saw an advertisement or whatever. It's mind-boggling. But anyway, when it comes to the medication and side effects, it's what's really bothers me is that people are being put on another medication to treat a side effect of a medication they're already on. And
Yeah.
I see this especially with cholesterol lowering drugs called statin drugs, which I am totally opposed to because of the harmful side effects of those medications. But especially with the elderly, I work with a lot of elderly patients and doing medication reviews for them, and they've been put on a statin drug because their cholesterol is a little bit high, or maybe because they had a heart attack or something years ago. They've been put on a statin drug, and they're dealing with all these other problems like muscle aches and muscle pain and muscle spasms, memory issues, and they're being put on another medication or two for that, instead of addressing the reason why they're dealing with those symptoms is because of the statin drug and what it's doing to their body in depleting nutrients from their body that are needed for muscle health, that are needed for brain health. And that's something they're never told. They're never told, hey, we're going to put you on this statin drug, but you got to take this supplement called coenzyme Q10. If you don't, you're going to end up with muscle problems, or you're going to end up with memory problems because of the depletion of this nutrient from your body and what it will do to you. They're never told that. And it just is very disturbing, very disturbing. And I see people on 10, 15 different medications, and a lot of times a third or half of those medications are to take care of side effects caused by one of their other medications.
Yeah, and I mean, and what about the possibility of the contraindications of mixing certain meds? I know so many stories out there where 2 meds or 3 meds they're not necessarily supposed to be taken together or at the dosage levels that they've been prescribed, and there doesn't seem to be a traffic cop monitoring that.
Oh, exactly. It's not. And unfortunately, it's not. Now, there's been some steps to improve that, especially with Medicare patients, and in doing medication reviews for Medicare patients, which Medicare actually pays for a yearly review. But people who are under the Medicare age, they're not getting that done. Nobody's doing that for them, unless they're hiring somebody like me and paying somebody like me to do that for them.
Right.
But nobody's doing it for them, and explaining to them, hey, this medication, they don't go well together. If you take these two together, it could cause this, it could cause that. If you take this one, you got to take a lower dose of this one, or if you take this and this supplement together, it could cause you these problems. They don't know that. And I can't tell you the exact statistics, but this is something that there are plenty of statistics on as far as emergency room visits, the number of emergency room visits that are medication related. People end up in an emergency room at the point of death sometime, or you're very sick because of a medication error, or because of side effects of a medication, or because of drug interactions that they were not warned about.
Wow. Yeah. And you're seeing that all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And do you find that in a lot of those cases, then you're able to kind of get them to start to transition over to a more natural approach?
Yeah, sometimes.
I imagine
Unfortunately.
that takes a little bit of time and work to get them off of different things and on to new things.
Oh yeah, yeah. And some people come to me, they're wanting that. That's what they want. I don't want to be on this medication. Tell me something more natural I can do. I got to get off this stuff. Because a lot of people realize, hey, this stuff's killing me, and this stuff's making me sick. I can't take the way this makes me feel. Especially with statin drugs. I've had people end up in wheelchairs and walkers. Inability to function, to have an active lifestyle because of what the statin drugs do to their muscles. And so a lot of times people come to me and said, I can't take this anymore. I can't take the way this is making me feel. And they're looking for an answer. But then there's other people that they want help, but they won't receive it because Medicare or their insurance won't pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where they have to start buying their health care like they buy their bread at the supermarket.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're not programmed to do that. People have been programmed that, hey, if the insurance don't pay for this or Medicare won't pay for this, well, I can't take it. I can't do that. I can't afford that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And, on a very, very small basis, I see a little bit of that, and as you already know, I mean, I'm involved in, the measurement and intervention side of the house with some brain health and neurological health products and services. And one of those products that we sell is not the cheapest thing on the block, but I'll tell you what, the results are just irrefutable. It is changing people's lives, but then they hear that it has a price range that's above $29 a month. And all of a sudden it's like, nah, it's not worth it. And I'm like, you haven't even tried it. I mean, and I'm talking about people who have issues. I mean, if somebody's healthy, I'm not trying to chase anybody down, but I definitely think that for those who have unanswered questions about their overall brain and neurological health, they're kind of missing the boat on some of these opportunities because of that, what you said, because they've kind of been conditioned to think, well, insurance covers that. Well, how's that working out for so many people?
Exactly.
I mean, how many people I know who have been to multiple practitioners, and of course, everywhere they go, they got to cover, their out of pocket and deductible and all that kind of stuff. So they're spending money, but they're not getting results. It makes me think of a good friend that I took out to Colorado, to a place where he was given 5 days of functional neurology, plasticity type treatments and therapies. And man, he did so well with it, but it's expensive. Right. So in his case, we had to raise some of that money. But the key to that experience for me was how many of their patients gave testimonials to say, I've been to 10, 20. One patient had been to almost 30 specialists over the course of 10 years and had never gotten really any kind of help. And they were not just upset. They were downright angry. that they
Yeah.
had gone through all of that. And of course, insurance is paying and paying and paying, and they're paying out of pocket, but yet they got nothing.
Yeah.
And then they spend a week at what I would say is, it's reasonably priced from a cash perspective if you're trying to fix your body. But once they did that, I think they improved 70, 80%.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah.
they maintained the improvement. And
Hmm.
now they're kicking themselves, wishing they had done it 5, 10 years ago. And so
Yeah.
this, I agree with you, is like, how do we address this conditioning and get people to say, you know what, maybe it's time for me to start experimenting with real, cash pay approaches to my health and start measuring the difference. That's what
Yeah.
I try to get people to do. But and on that note, I mean, Phil Carson Wellness is also your website. Is that right? Is that correct? PhilCarsonWellness.com.
Yeah. Yeah. PhilCarsonWellness.com. Yeah.
Okay. So people who want to learn more about you can go there and peruse and learn. And then as it relates to some of the things that you then want to treat them with or advise them to take in the supplementation world, you have a platform that's built into your website, I assume, that enables them to have access to those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I have a online dispensary where they can get any kind of supplement they want, and also not just supplements, but all kinds of healthcare items
Yeah.
that are available to them through my dispensary as well. So it makes it easy, for them. They don't have to go searching everywhere looking for something. And
Mm-hmm.
that brings to mind something I feel like I need to share with all of my clients
Sure.
is the supplement industry. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry. Supplement industry is, and it's growing all the time. And COVID created a tremendous amount of growth in the supplement industry because of what we saw happen with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so more and more people are aware that they need to be taking better care of their bodies and need to be supporting their immune system, which is something that I encourage and I teach and preach all the time. I always tell people your best defense against a virus, a pathogen, a bug out there is a healthy immune system.
Mm-hmm.
And so so many people are struggling on that front. But when it comes to the supplements and the supplement industry, there is a lot of deception. There's a lot of scamming going on. I have people reach out to me almost every week. Tell me about this thing. I saw this on Facebook, or I got an ad in the mail about this. Tell me, what about this stuff? Is it something I should take? Is it? And I look at and say, you're getting scammed.
Yeah.
You're getting scammed again.
Wow.
And people, so many people fall for this stuff and they buy this junk, and that's what it is. It's pure junk. And because they saw a flashy ad or something that compelled them to want to buy this stuff,
Yeah.
and they don't realize they're being scammed. But also what I share with a lot of people and help educate people about in the supplement industry is that there's also a lot of counterfeits out there. There's a lot of supplements that are being counterfeited and sold on Amazon as that brand, and it's a counterfeit. It's totally
Wow.
counterfeit. Just like if you were taking a counterfeit $100 bill and passing it,
Yeah.
and cheating somebody out of money, then they're doing the same thing. They're taking
Mm-hmm.
these high profile, big name practitioner based supplements that are quality supplements, and they usually cost more than what you buy in Walmart or Walgreens or any of the big box stores,
Right.
because they are quality, and most of what you buy there is junk. But they'll take these quality products and they'll counterfeit them. They'll make it look just like the real stuff and sell it on Amazon for maybe $5 or $10 less than what a person can buy it from the actual company.
My
And these
gosh.
people think, well, hey, I'm getting a good deal on Amazon. Man, Amazon saved me some money. They're buying a counterfeit
Wow.
and they
So
don't know it.
then So then obviously whatever, I don't know the name of your system. I used to know it, but I think it changed recently. It used to be referred
Yeah,
to as Wellevate,
yeah,
but that platform is built in such a way that it kind of locks out the possibility for that kind of thing to happen.
exactly, exactly. It's called FullScript, and it's a practitioner based platform that's made available to practitioners where they can make sure that their patients are getting quality products that are not counterfeits.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And so are these just like then like placebo
It,
counterfeits? I
it,
mean, what are they doing with it? What are they putting in these capsules? Water?
exactly. Rice bran. Matter of fact, there's an article that was published just earlier this year. One of these big companies that's been around for, I don't know, 60, 70 years, huge supplement company, that very well respected, family owned company, been around for decades. They published an article that they were finding their products on Amazon being sold for less money, and they ordered them off Amazon, bought them, put them in, took them to the lab, had them analyzed, and every one of them was capsules filled with rice bran.
Wow. My gosh. And that
Yeah,
stuff is that being manufactured here in the US, or is that being created overseas, or both, or
probably both. I'm not sure about where it's being manufactured,
yeah.
yeah, I discovered this several years ago that this was happening,
Yeah.
because I would would go to Amazon looking for something. I see this product on Amazon. I said, well, this is not supposed to be on here. This company doesn't. They only sell their products through practitioners. They don't sell them on Amazon. But yet here
Yeah.
it is. Here's this product on Amazon. And I got to looking, and I found out that doing some tracking. I put on my Sherlock Holmes hat and started
Mhm.
looking behind the wall, behind the curtain. Found out there was a place in Kentucky that was where these supplements were being shipped out of, and track the address. And it was like a warehouse facility in a next to an airport in Kentucky. And
Wow.
these products were being shipped out of this place that are not even supposed to be sold on Amazon.
And it almost
Yeah,
sounds like it's akin to like drug trade. It's crazy.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Wow. All right. Well,
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I wasn't aware of how bad that was, but definitely
yeah.
keep an eye out for it. And then I thought, I know you have to go here in a moment, but I thought if you don't mind, I would take just a couple minutes. I'd love to
Yeah.
kind of just summarize your experience that you had recently with Neuro 20. Now, I have expressed to others who've seen my other videos, and they follow kind of where I am with Neuro 20 and Wavi and all these other things from time to time.
Yeah.
And I know you had an interesting experience. I just thought I'd see if you would mind describing, your thoughts about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me say one thing about YV. You mentioned YV,
Sure.
I've used YV, and one of the last clinical practice I was part of in Nashville, Tennessee, I was using the YV platform and doing brain work and analyzing people's brains and putting them on brain wellness protocol and program that we had developed for this clinic in Nashville area. And one of the things I've always said when I learned about this particular platform, this YV platform and device, was that this is something that more and more people need to be utilizing. Because we go to the doctor, we get our blood pressure checked, we get our blood sugar checked, we get our blood drawn, have all these blood values checked, but nobody's checking the brain,
Yep.
and nobody's checking the function of the brain. And this is something the YV platform does a beautiful job of being able to give a person an idea of how well their brain is functioning.
Yeah.
And I love that platform and the information and the valuable information that it can provide as an insight into a person's actual brain health and what could be going on, and things that could alarm them and alarm the practitioner of the things that need to be addressed and need to be worked on, need
Yeah.
to
Could
be
not agree
corrected.
with you more on that.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of that in the clinic. But as far as the Neuro 20, yeah, I was on a trip to Florida a couple weeks ago. Had a meeting down there, and realized I was going to be very close, within an hour's drive of the office, the home office of Neuro 20. And I said, well, I got to go by and try this thing out, because I've been hearing all about it, been reading about it, hearing you talk about it, hearing about the results that people were getting, with this therapy device, the therapy suit, so to speak. And I
Yeah.
said, I got to go experience it for myself. And I was thoroughly impressed. It was I was blown away about the effects of it, what I felt from it, and the applications, all the various applications that that it can be used for in helping a person recover from injury, or helping a person that's dealing with some type of degenerative or debilitating disease that's affecting their, particularly that's affecting their muscle function and their nerve function. And I said, this, more people need to know about this. More people need to be using this product, especially people that are in the business of helping people heal and recover
Mm.
from various illnesses or from injuries. And I understand from talking with the guys there that it's being used a lot in athletics and in the college and professional world of athletics, which I can see, the valuable use for it there. But also I see the use for it in people, my age and older, that
Oh yeah.
maybe they have some type of debilitating condition, or they have an old injury or something that's aggravating them. They're struggling, to function well every day. Maybe they're struggling to walk, or to be able to get up and move like they should be able to. That this could provide some tremendous relief and therapy for. So
Absolutely.
I'm just excited about the applications of it, especially after experiencing it for myself. And
Yeah. Well, the things that you described, I'm seeing too, and with the practitioners that I'm working with and some of their patients, and what it's turning around in the area of neuropathy, muscle atrophy as a result, et cetera. It's really quickly too, quickly
yeah.
turning people around in ways. So then my question was, so were you sore afterward?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It worked. I told a couple of people, I said, this thing worked my muscles so well in just a few minutes. It was only a few minutes.
Yeah.
And uh, uh, one of the co-founders of the company, Michael, took me through a series of movements and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
had me do a series of different movements and exercises with the suit on. And I literally, the next day, I felt like I had just had a very intense workout, like a 2 hour like a 2 hour workout. My
Yeah.
muscles were felt like they had been gone through a tremendous hard, intense workout.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's true. And just based on the fact that I've got access to these tools and this equipment, I have not been idle in using it myself. In fact, I'm supposed to use it tonight. But I've been doing it twice a week for, which is about what's recommended, 2 to 3 times, but twice a
Yeah,
week for, gosh, I don't know, 7 or 8 months. And really, what a noticeable change on so many different levels, just core strength and all this. So, well, that's great. We'll have to figure out a way to get you back in that suit and beat you up some more. And
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, well, this has been very informative, and I really hope that anybody watching or listening will take the time to go to philcarsonwellness.com to learn more about all the great work that he's doing. I'm telling you personally, from my own perspective, again, friends, family, people very close to me who I wanted to see get the help they needed, definitely got it, and it has turned their
yeah.
lives around. So, thank you for that. and I appreciate your time tonight and joining
Yeah.
me for this little impromptu get together. And we'll certainly catch up again very soon with you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it, and appreciate you and your friendship. And thank you so much. And healthy blessings to you and anybody that watches this.
Yes, thank you, and same to you. We'll see you again.
All right. God bless.
Bye, bye now.